Okay, let's get started and maybe people can join in. So I hope you guys can hear me okay and you guys can see my screen. So just prepared a small slide for this particular training session. Okay, so before I jump into what I mean what we'll be going to learn in this particular training, what topics we'll be covering, what is different about this training, about the Selenium Java training. So let me introduce myself first. Maybe some of you may know me, maybe from my LinkedIn or from my blog site QScript. But so I'm Bijan. I am a test automation expert. I have got 13 years of IT experience. I have worked with all the major investment banks. So I am an automation architect, so I specialize in building or designing test automation frameworks. I am expert in Selenium and Java, but I have worked with other automation tools. I am a certified Tosca automation specialist. I do train people. Uh, I do run my YouTube channel, which is QScript, and then my blog channel is there. Blog site is there, which is QScript, where I share a lot of different information on different automation tools and different automation topics. So this was just a brief introduction about me, and let's come to the training highlights. Right? So, this training, this is advanced Selenium Java training, and when I say advanced, it's not only that we'll directly jump into the advanced topics, but this training will start right from scratch. We will see how the training batch, I mean, how other people want to go ahead with this training. We can go right from basics till advanced, or if everyone is aware of the basics, then we can also skip a few things which everybody knows, right? But this training is meant for people to get started right from scratch. Even if you don't know Selenium, you don't know Java, you don't know other tools or frameworks like Cucumber, TestNG, Jenkins, Maven, Git, right? So it doesn't matter. Um, I'm going to teach you right from scratch everything, and we are going to cover all the basics plus all the advanced topics in all of these tools and frameworks. So some of the highlights which I put here, right? So Selenium Java, obviously, we are going to cover everything in Selenium, right from basics till all the topics. And then we are going to cover all the topics in Java as well. So the special part of this training is I'll be running this on, I mean, writing all the code on IntelliJ IDEA. I'm not going to use Eclipse for this like many other trainings because I think IntelliJ IDEA is much more advanced and it's much more user friendly. And I'm going to show you why it is so user friendly when you are working on any automation project or you're working or writing any particular code, right? So just give me a minute. I just need to admit few people. Okay, so as I was saying, we are going to cover everything in Selenium and everything in Java, and we are going to take real-time examples. We'll be picking up some demo sites and we'll be performing all the different operations while learning all the different functionality in Selenium. Similarly for Java, when I'm teaching you all the different topics, I'm going to show you how it is implemented in real world. I'm going to write some simple Java programs as well so that we can learn along the way when we are trying to learn Java or Selenium, right? So apart from this, the highlights of this training is I'm going to introduce you to AWS and Docker. And obviously, we are going to work with Jenkins as well for continuous integration. So I'm not going to go in depth with AWS and Docker, but I'm certainly going to tell you all the basics. And then we are going to see how we can integrate our Selenium automation with AWS and Docker. So what are the things you can do on AWS and Docker? So basically integrating your automation code and running it on either AWS EC2 servers. Those may be Linux or Windows servers, or you can build up a Selenium grid on Docker and start running your scripts seamlessly on a Docker container, right? Similarly, Jenkins, it's a CI tool, continuous integration tool. So we are going to see how we can start building our jobs in Jenkins, and then how we can run our Selenium tests, which we have written directly in Jenkins, be it Jenkins on AWS or be it Jenkins on local machine. So these are some of the highlights of this training, apart from the regular stuff which we are going to learn. So anytime you have any questions, please pause me and do ask me. So coming to, I just wanted to talk a little bit about the advanced framework development, right? So since this is advanced training, I'm not only going to teach you the basics and how to write scripts in Selenium or with Selenium Java. We are also going to look at few advanced framework concepts. So we are going to build an enterprise level framework in Selenium Java. We'll be using Cucumber as a BDD to write feature files and step definitions. We'll also see how we can use TestNG as a test framework. But apart from that, I also want you to, I would be showing you how to build an enterprise level framework, which is used in the largest of companies. So because I have only built these types of frameworks in the companies I have worked with, so I'm going to share that experience with you guys. I'm going to tell you what are the best practices while you are trying to develop a automation framework, how you can build a framework which is reusable, extensible, and then how it can be easily built along with all the different design patterns and the best practices which will be learning throughout this training, right? So, okay, so a few points which I have listed down here, right? So which I wanted to discuss with you all, right? So we'll be using the page object model design pattern. So it is a popular design pattern whenever we are trying to work with Selenium, especially. It helps us to store our objects elements in different page classes, and also we'll see how we can implement complete abstraction of code using this page object model design pattern while we are developing this framework. So we are going to learn the all the object-oriented concepts in Java, which is abstraction, inheritance, encapsulation, right, and polymorphism. And then after learning all these Java concepts, we are going to implement them into our automation framework, because these are the things which are always very important whenever you are designing any code or any particular framework, where, especially in object-oriented languages like Java. So this is one concept we are going to learn, abstraction, how we can abstract our code in our framework. And then we'll see how we can implement inheritance, again, a OOPS concept, to create different reusable classes. Especially one of the examples could be WebDriver initialization, right? So we don't want to initialize our WebDriver every time in every class where we are trying to use that driver instance. We always want to have a single installation, and that should be inherited to all the different classes where you are trying to write any particular automation code or any particular code which is related to Selenium WebDriver, right? So we are going to see how we can use inheritance and implement it in your framework, so that you just initialize your WebDriver once and it can be reused all throughout your classes. Okay, just a minute. Okay, so the next thing, I talked about polymorphism, again a OOPS concept, and we are going to use overloaded and overridden methods, which are part of the polymorphism OOPS Java concepts. So we are going to override and overload methods at runtime, and these methods are nothing but the WebDriver methods, right? So we would try not to use the WebDriver methods as it is. We will try to overload them and override them at runtime so that we can enhance our existing WebDriver methods, and we can implement them in a better way into the framework. That is very important, because if you directly write some Selenium code and you expect that to run every time, that won't happen in real time, or when you are working on real time projects in any particular organization, right? So you need to have custom methods which are built on top of the WebDriver methods, which can help you overcome some problems which you face while running your automation code. So we are going to see that while developing this particular framework. Then we would write a number of different custom reusable methods, and this could be to overcome synchronization issues which you face during automation of web applications, right? So applications and automation are generally not in sync, and you come across this issue almost every time you try to run your script against a web application. So we would write reusable methods to overcome these, then any unexpected exceptions. So Selenium doesn't have any kind of mechanism to overcome exceptions which come unexpected in your code or in your application. So you need to have custom methods in order to overcome these. So we will try to develop some of these to overcome the exceptions. And then all the different operations which you perform on your web elements in your application, we would write all the different custom reusable methods. We won't be writing any kind of static method or any kind of method which is directly provided by WebDriver. We would try to enhance it further, right? Okay, so next point, also part of the custom reusable methods. So every framework has got a data-driven concept, right? So you don't just work with some static data or just limited amount of data. Whenever you are trying to build a framework, you always need to have some external data source link, right? So from where you can read and write your data, and your data should not be bound to a particular application. It should be independent of the application. So whenever you are trying to use any external data source files, we need to have custom methods which can read and write into these external data sources, right? So these are I'm giving some examples of how a framework could look, but there could be a lot of other examples as well, right? So which we are going to learn. These are only some points which I'm explaining in this particular session. So the next point, also very important, when you are building a framework and that is being used across different applications and teams. So you need to manage your environment or application configurations, right? So what do I mean by configuration? So it could be a simple application URL, but then you have an application URL for different environments, right? You could have a staging environment, a dev environment, a QA environment. So how do you manage that? You can't just go into your script and change that URL every time, right? You want a mechanism through which you can change it at one place and not changing it everywhere in your code, right? So that is what I mean by configuration. And then if you want to run your scripts on say once you want to run on Chrome browser, the next time you want to run on Firefox browser, right? So all of these things should be configurable when you are developing a framework, because every team or every application will have its own requirement, right? So another example could be the timeout, right? So an application, one application could load in 10 seconds, but another application may load in 20 or 30 seconds. So we have to build a framework which gives us independence to configure all of these values in a particular file. And in this case, we'll be using properties files. And there will be different kinds of properties file. We'll see how we can write into this properties files, how to read the values at runtime, and then run our scripts independent of any static data, right? So that is very important. You don't want to use static data in your automation scripts. They should always be independent of any particular data or any configurable value which you are going to use at runtime or before you run your scripts, right? So these are some points of framework, how you could build an advanced framework. And there are lots of other concepts like extensive reporting, managing all your dependencies, plugins, using a build tool like Maven, always kind of committing, pushing code into a repository whenever you are working within a team, then working with different sources like databases, XML files, so lots of different things, right? So we'll look at all of them when we are trying to develop this framework and this particular training. Okay, so next I wanted to talk about continuous integration. Now, nowadays, just developing a framework or developing some code and running it on your local machine is not enough, right? So when you are working on an organization at an organization level, especially in big organizations, you have to continuously integrate your code with some CI tool, right? Like Jenkins, there is TeamCity, and number of other CI tools are present. So you need to have a mechanism through which you can run your scripts on a timely basis or at a particular time or just trigger it from a particular CI tool. You can't just expect that you have developed a particular automation code and you're going to run it manually every time, because that defeats the purpose of automation. You are not actually um, automating it, but you are writing some scripts and then you are trying to execute it manually, which is not ideal in a real world scenario, right? So we need to have that integration with all the different integration tools, CI/CD tools. And that is also very important when companies are moving into the DevOps world, and continuous integration is the first step, right? And for that, automation testing is very important, because without it, the CI/CD pipeline will fall apart. Because if companies are going to test manually, then the DevOps pipeline will not work. So automation testing plays a very important role in a CI/CD pipeline, and we should know how to integrate and run our code from a continuous integration tool. And that is what we are going to learn in this particular training. So we are going to integrate our code with Jenkins, Maven, and Git, and all the other tools which are required for a continuous integration process, right? So as part of it, we'll learn all about Maven, which is again a build management tool. So it is able to manage all your dependencies, plugins. We'll use the build lifecycle of Maven to run our scripts in a CI tool or from a command line. As I said, we'll integrate and run our Selenium tests with Maven, Git, Jenkins. And this Selenium test could be written either in TestNG or Cucumber framework. So we'll look at both of them. And as part of the advanced concepts, so we are also going to see how we can set up our Jenkins server on AWS EC2 instance. Those could be Linux instances or Windows instances. And then we trigger our builds directly on the cloud, right? Not on our local machines. So we are going to set up and run the Jenkins server and different build agents on these AWS EC2 servers. Similarly, as I said earlier, we are also going to learn Docker, and we are also going to set up Selenium grid, right? So through which you can run your Selenium scripts on remote machines. Uh, and you can run it also parallelly across different browser configurations or environment configurations, right? So we'll see how we can start with get started with Docker, and then also see how we can set up the Selenium grid on Docker container, and how we can run our Selenium scripts there. Okay. So there are many other points which we'll be covering in continuous integration, but I have just highlighted the important points here. So although there are lots of other parts, just wanted to talk about this final part, which is interview preparation. So I've got a lot of experience in the industry, especially in the testing and automation testing. So I've been in both sides of the table. So I have attended hundreds of interviews. At the same time, I have taken or conducted hundreds of interviews, right? So I know how the questions are structured, how it should be answered, so that you are actually answering that in a right way, right? So there is a right way and there is also a wrong way of answering questions. If you just answer the question, it doesn't mean it is correct, but it has to be answered in a proper way, so that it shows your skills and experience you have when you are trying to attend an automation interview at any particular company. So I'm going to help you with interview questions and answers which are frequently asked when you go at an experienced or as a fresher, or with less number of years of experience in automation testing. Um, I can also uh, I can also arrange mock interview sessions, so we can have one-to-one sessions if anybody wants to have them with me, just for getting prepared before you attend any particular interview. And then, as I said, I'll be also sharing you with different tips and tricks how you can crack your automation interviews at all of these large, uh, especially banks or large companies, right, which you are going to attend whenever you are changing a particular company and looking for a better automation role, right? So saying that, that's all I wanted to discuss. Obviously, you can find a lot of resources on my site qscript.com. There is the complete course content. So let me show you that if you have not seen already. Just a minute, I will share my screen again. Right. So this is the page which I have created where I have listed down all the course content. Obviously, you will have also found it out whenever you have registered for this particular course, right? There also it must be present. So we are going to cover everything related to IntelliJ ID. How do you get started with that particular IDE, right? And as I said, everything related to core Java, all the concepts. With real-time examples. We are going to cover tools like Maven, Git, right? So all the basic commands in Git. How do you create a branch? How do you push your code, commit your code? So all the different operations you perform on a code repository like Git. Uh, all about Maven. How do you set up Maven? How do you, what are the different phases in the build life cycle of Maven? How do you use plugins, different plugins in Maven? Right, so all about that. Obviously, everything around Selenium WebDriver, all the different concepts, right from basic till the Selenium grid. Then we are going to cover two different test frameworks, so Cucumber and TestNG. But while I'm developing the framework, I'm going to use Cucumber because I want to show you the integration with Selenium with Cucumber while we are trying to design a framework with a live project, right? So as I said, all the different topics which could be present in a framework, right? All the different advanced concepts which you can use in a framework. We are going to cover all of them. Then continuous integration with Jenkins, all about setup, managing Jenkins, plugins, right? I can talk about pipelines as well, which is advanced concept in Jenkins, but we'll start off with basics, and then we'll try to have a look at pipelines as well. Then continuous testing with Selenium Cucumber, and also reporting. And finally, these topics which I'm going to introduce you in this particular training, so which is AWS Cloud, how do you create a EC2 server, different types of Linux servers, how do you build, I mean, how do you install Jenkins on that, and all the other required tools and plugins which are required to run your Selenium tests on a AWS EC2 server, right? Similarly for Docker, some basic installation setup, all the basic commands which can be used in Docker. We'll try to understand what is Docker, why it is used, and finally we'll try to configure Jenkins and start running it on Docker. Also, we'll see how we can set up Selenium Grid. And as I talked about interview preparation, right? So all of these topics, and this is not an exhaustive list of all the topics. So I have listed down as many topics which came to my mind, but as we go through the training, as if some other topics comes a bit in between, I'm also going to include that in this particular training. So this all of these topics are just high level, and they contain a lot of different things within that one topic which I have listed down here, right? So that's all I wanted to tell you in this particular demo session. Um I hope I have given you some insights into what this training is about, and what are the special highlights of this training, what you can learn in this particular training, and what you can expect in in the 6 weeks time which we are going to spend on this particular training. Now, saying that, if you guys have any questions, feel free to ask me. So I'm stopping the sharing now. So I can see some questions in the chat. Yes, we are recording the session. So timings of the training would be 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Indian Standard Time on weekends, so Saturday and Sunday. So will you cover any project? Yes, I'm going to cover a live project. So we are going to pick up a site and we are going to automate it end to end, along with the framework. So we are going to build a framework, and along with that, we are going to automate e-commerce application from end to end. So regarding cost, you can reach out to Arun, or reach out to me separately. I don't want to discuss it in this demo session. Somebody has asked how you manage Java and Selenium parallel. So we are going to see how we can do parallel execution, if you meant by that, Anurag. Okay, so yeah, we're going to see how we can run our scripts in parallel. Okay, so somebody has asked about estimation of automation activities. So I can share some experience around that. So how do you estimate your automation activities? How you can estimate your automation test cases? So how much time you're going to take to design and run your automation activities or tests? So Selenium with JMeter, I am not looking at performance testing in this particular training. So I'm not going to cover JMeter specifically in this training. Okay, somebody has asked, could you also explain about banking domain automation and main ex main aspects related to banking domain? So yes, I can surely do that. So I have got almost 8 years of experience in the banking domain. I could share some relevant experience with you. I mean, whoever is going to join this training. So everything related to banking domain, I could also help you get some tips whenever you're trying to automate a particular banking domain. What are the challenges? How you can overcome them? So yes, we can discuss them during the training. So course duration is currently it is six weeks. So 6 weeks, which I mean 6 weekends. But if we are not able to cover it due to any particular reason, I am happy to extend that to few more weeks. So I'm planning to start the course this weekend. That is on 10th of July. As of now, I have not planned for weekdays course, but yes, um, I can plan it for the next training session. But this particular training session will be only on weekends. I've got a lot of people who are interested on weekends, so we can certainly plan for weekdays later on. Yes, we can. I would try to cover TestNG as part of the sample project. So um, may not be with the complete framework. I mean, we can develop a separate project for TestNG, and I can show you all the different parts of TestNG and how you can get working with it. So guys, if I have not covered any particular question in the chat box, so you can directly ask me as well if I missed anything here. Okay, Tosca, you are asking? Yeah, so I am planning, but not right now. But yeah, in future, I would be starting something with Tosca. So you can say it is st I've started preparation for that, but I would certainly start it in some time. So stay in touch. Yeah. Yes. So I would still say that Selenium is ruling the market, certainly in big companies. But if I talk about digital companies, right, so which are completely into the digital domains, I mean, they have implemented all the digital applications. So those companies are starting to now use Tosca. And the reason behind that is Tosca has got these integrations, especially with financial applications, right? So it has got integration with SAP applications. It has got integration with leading financial applications like Avaloq. So out of the box integrations which Tosca provides, right? And then the complete test management cycle where you can manage your requirements, your test cases, your test design, your reporting, everything in one particular tool. So that's the biggest advantage. And then also there is no coding required, right? So you just need to learn the tool and you can start working on it. So these are some advantages which companies are starting to look, but I would not say that it has still overcome Selenium. Selenium is still being used in almost all the big investment banks as of I know right now. And I don't think, because investment banks or banks, you can say, they have got a lot of applications which are not right now at that particular stage where they can start using codeless automation tool. Because when you start facing issues, right, you have to depend on a third party tool like Tosca, which is a licensed tool, and they have their own support team. So they would build that functionality and give you. But an open source tool like Selenium, you can build your own solution, right? Whenever you are stuck somewhere. So I think that is a big factor when it comes to companies taking up Tosca versus Selenium. But if you ask me, in India especially, if there are 10 interviews scheduled for automation, I am sure 7 to 8 interviews will be on Selenium, and maybe 1 or 2 on Tosca. But I can see that trend coming up in outside India, but within India, I cannot see right now. But yes, it is a good tool to learn for future. But right now, I think Selenium is still leading the market. Yeah, I mean there are many codeless automation tools, but I think Tosca is more popular among them. Yeah. So Somebody is asking about extent reports. Yes, when we are learning TestNG, we can cover extent report as well. Mobile app testing, this is not included in this training. So that could be a completely different training because it's completely different than web automation, right? So we would be covering web applications here, especially. Somebody is asking about protector. So again, it's a completely different tool and framework. So I'm not going to cover that in this particular training. Somebody is asking how different is IntelliJ IDEA with Eclipse IDE. So I'm going to exactly show you that in this training, how IntelliJ IDEA is different from Eclipse. What are the features which makes it much more user friendly and advanced when you are working with Eclipse. So if you have worked with Eclipse and haven't used IntelliJ IDEA, you will, I can say you will really enjoy it because uh, I also used I mean Eclipse for a number of years, but when I switched to IntelliJ IDEA, I never got back to Eclipse, right? So we will see that in this training. So will somebody is asking, will you have an end-to-end project covering all aspects of automation to emulate real time? Yes. So we are going to cover end-to-end project along with the framework, and we'll see how it works in real time. So somebody is asking Selenium Python openings compared to Selenium Java openings. I can say Java is still the major one when it comes to applications. If you go in a company, you will see almost most of the applications are built on Java. Python is coming up with Selenium, but I still feel openings are more in Selenium Java compared to Selenium Python. Selenium Python could be more focused areas which are present in some companies, but I still see Selenium Java as more openings in the current market. Somebody is asking, many companies nowadays expecting REST assured API and Selenium Web Automation. So what is your opinion on it? How to proceed? Yes, so API is obviously a very important part of automation because that's what covers your backend part of the application. Selenium will only cover the front end part of your application, right? But you need to also test the backend, and that's where you can use a framework like REST Assured API. You can easily integrate that with Selenium because again, REST Assured API is just a library, so you can integrate that with Selenium. And since it also allows you to write your tests in BDD format, it is pretty easy to kind of write your complete end-to-end tests. Some may be in web application, some your API application. So yes, you can certainly use REST Assured API to test your APIs. And all I think more companies are now also moving to API automation. But I would I would suggest you first get your basics strong, at least in web applications, Selenium automation with web applications, and then move into API automation so that you can have that understanding and also that experience of working in automation before you directly jump into API automation, right? So yes, I'll try to share the syllabus for this particular course or this training in the next few days. So especially what I'm going to cover in this 6 weeks, I'll try to segregate all the topics and put them in the respective weeks so that everyone has a better idea of what is being covered in every week. Yeah, so I would be giving more time to the framework development because I know that is the most challenging part of any particular automation. So I would try to give more focus on developing a framework. Whenever I'm trying to build this end-to-end project or automation, we would be starting by, I mean, parallelly, we'll be building a framework and we'll be writing the code for the automation. So I would do it that way. We'll just cover all the different basics of Selenium, Java, and all the other tools, but um, we'll give more time to framework development for sure. Any other questions for me? So just going to the chat window if I've missed anything here. Yes, yes. So I'll provide all the recordings for all the sessions. And if anybody wants to have any particular offline discussion, I'm also we can arrange that also. If you have doubts outside the session which are not clarified, we can have offline sessions as well. Yeah, I have estimated based on my best of knowledge, but we'll see how the sessions go. If I see that it is taking more time, then as I said earlier, we can always extend the sessions. No, no, no. No, I'm not going to use those examples. I would use a web application. So, any other questions, or we are just about time? If there are no questions, I will just wrap up this session. Hope I would see you all in the training. Do reach out to me if you have any other questions or anytime. Um, you can go through my site QScript. All the details are mentioned there as well. But if you have any other questions related to this training or anything else, you can reach out to my email, bijan@qscript.com, or you can also connect with me on LinkedIn. No, no, those that is used by developers. It's not basically used for testing. Okay, so I hope I have answered all the questions whichever came, and this demo session was useful for everyone. So see you later, and I'm going to end this session now. Take care and bye.